Texas GOP lawmakers have introduced a bill that will effectively grant doctors the right to lie to women about their pregnancies and potentially prevent them from going through an abortion. Now, Texas Senate Bill 25, also known as the Wrongful Births Bill, has made its way to the Texas Senate floor and would prevent lawsuits against doctors if a baby is born with a disability. Now, the Texas Senate Committee on State Affairs passed the bill, which would legislate how much information a woman is allowed to receive about her own pregnancy. Now, I want to just emphasize that this is going to legislate how much information a woman is allowed to receive about her own pregnancy, okay? Now, the bill's author, Republican Senator Brandon Creighton, argued that wrongful birth lawsuits could motivate doctors to encourage abortion in order to avoid the possibility of legal action. Now, this basically goes to protect doctors so that if a severely disabled child is born, that the parents cannot sue the doctor for not providing enough information about the child's disability so that the parents could potentially end the pregnancy if that's a decision that they decided to make. Now, obviously, according to some lawyers in the Texas area who have been practicing medical malpractice, they say that this sort of case has never really come into courts, but that doesn't stop these sort of lawmakers from trying to enact this anti-abortion legislation.
They're such liars. They're such liars.
I still don't understand why it matters why other people are so engulfed in thinking or trying to think for a person. Like, that's a woman's body is a woman's body. They make the decisions of what they want for their body. What law, what legality, what senator, whoever, political pundit, whoever has the audacity to really care or tell a person what they can do for their body.
I agree with
you. I still can't fathom. I can't even come to the words to say because it pisses me off so much. Like, that's your decision.
No.
Like, that's why do I have any say in that? I don't get that.
Right, I agree with you, and we see this time and time again with lawmakers who are trying to control women's body, trying to control women's choice. I think it even becomes more egregious when you jump into the fact that you're bringing doctors into the situations where you allow doctors who are supposed to be caring for the health of these women and to put them first and make them a priority, and you're saying, okay, now you have, depending on your opinion or your religious beliefs or whatever, you can withhold information from a woman about her own body and about the child she is carrying in her body. I mean, that is absurd, it is disgusting, and it is frightening.
Well, first of all, I disagree with Kenny a little bit because I do understand it. Like, I mean, if you think it's murder, then I get it. I get where I disagree with it, and I think that we got to do all we can. We got to fight harder to protect the woman's right to choose the course of treatment for her own body. But if you think it's murder, I get that you'd be opposed to it and you'd fight that law, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. But these laws, because the Supreme Court has made it clear that you can't do that, so all of these laws are nitpicking it, making it essentially impossible in some cases for women to have an abortion by requiring the size of the hallways, by the tree, all these things that make it so there are women all over this country now who have to go hundreds, if not some, I'm sure, maybe even 1,000 miles just to get a legal abortion. But when we were talking about health care in this country, one of the Republican conservatives, those people who many of whom are on the anti-choice side, they argued that the health care is between a patient and their doctor. And the government should not get involved in that. And now, it's okay, the government is getting so involved in it, but they're allowing the doctor to simply lie and mislead a patient, which strikes me as something that the AMA, which requires the doctors sign the Hippocratic Oath, first do no harm, well, lying to them, I think constitutes harm.
Not to mention the intense hypocrisy when juxtaposed to the laws about the kind of information that they force on patients. All those laws that said, I'm not gonna tell you what's wrong with your baby or anything, but before you have an abortion, I'm gonna make you watch its heartbeat. I'm gonna make you do all this stuff that makes it less likely that you'll have an abortion. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I want to expand on that. So as of January 1st, 2017, there are a bunch of anti-abortion laws that are in place in Texas. So I want to mention some of them to you. The first one being that if you want to go through an abortion, you have to get a state-directed counselor that is basically designed to discourage you from getting an abortion. And then you have to wait for 24 hours after that counseling session before you can have the procedure. There's also, like you were mentioning about the heartbeat and stuff like that, women are forced to undergo an ultrasound before obtaining an abortion, and the provider must show and describe the image to the woman.
But a lot of the conservatives and the GOP that are passing these laws and that want these laws to go to pass are the ones that don't adopt. They're the ones that don't, do the other measures that would help prevent people from having these abortions.
Yeah, it's
big government. It's forcing government down your throat.
It's riddled with hypocrisy. Riddled with hypocrisy on 4 or 5 levels.
Support independent media and get the whole Young Turks 2-hour show and other network shows all ad-free. TYTnetwork.com/join. Come join us today.